fucking jump. Just go. And just going we are. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy and the other fucking guy in the room because we're doing what we do. Yesterday was a holiday. Today's not a holiday. We work, we hustle, man. And it's well worth it. But Leo, how are you, brother? How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good, man. I got some good food. Got to spend a good time with my family. We all decided that we're gonna go to the Nuggets game this Saturday. So
Oh yeah,
we all just randomly decided, hey, let's go to the Nuggets game. So
that should be a good game.
That's what we're doing on Saturday, so-
Because surprisingly, the Suns are.
doing great.
I don't know how it happened.
Me either.
I really don't know how it happened.
Yeah, we don't keep our hopes high though, because they are the Suns at the end of the day.
I don't know.
But they are going on a really good run right now.
I think the new owner, who also owns the Phoenix Mercury,
Is it the same owner?
yeah, same guy.
Okay.
There's been some issues, I guess, with some minority owners that are left. But the owner owns, I don't know, like 85%. He owns a big chunk, and he wants to do things his way, and he wants to win. And, the Phoenix Mercury were picked to not even be one of the 8 teams to even make the playoffs. And they did make the playoffs and got to the finals. So they've just somehow, and putting together rosters and putting together people, even when we had star players that were injured, the bench was deep. The bench was deep. And Booker seems to be getting help. He's not doing it alone. But he's been putting up some decent numbers, though. He's been scoring, somewhere in between 25 and 30 a game pretty regularly so far, which, that's going to put you in the upper echelon in the NBA for sure. Yeah, that should be good. We haven't been to a Suns game yet. We're still in our football mode, but I'm sure we will, especially since they're kind of turning things around, and I didn't expect that. Now, I do have a question, and so about Mexican Thanksgiving.
It's not a thing.
It's not a thing?
We don't celebrate Thanksgiving in Mexico.
No. I mean, celebrating it here, what my question is, do you just do the traditional turkey things, or do you have, like, some Mexican dishes that are included in your Thanksgiving dinner when the family gets together that, like, most people aren't having on the table?
I think it depends on the family. Because like I said, Thanksgiving isn't a holiday in Mexico. Like, that's just not something we celebrate.
Right.
So here you have one of 3 things. You have either Mexicans that don't celebrate Thanksgiving at all. So it's just
Okay.
another regular day.
Yeah.
We have the Mexican Thanksgivings where everyone does like the typical American Thanksgiving. So your turkey, mashed potatoes, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have like the Mexican food, which would be like pozole, tamales.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm wondering.
Like
Did mom make some tamales or something?
yeah,
Did you?
yeah. She made tamales. We had pozole, and then we had birria. And then my mom also really likes her sweets, so she
Yeah.
made sweet tamales. So this time around, she made some corn tamales or whatever. She didn't make a lot of them because it was just, she used new ingredients this time around, so she didn't want to make as much. But they still came out pretty good. But she typically, like for Christmas and stuff like that, she'll make strawberry and pineapple tamales, which are
Really?
amazing. They are so good.
That sounds good.
So good.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah. So in a Mexican household, it's going to depend on
Right.
the
Yeah, but I
family.
was just curious what you guys do.
What
So
we do.
you-
Oh yeah.
You spin the two together.
We will mix them, and
Yeah, you
again, it just kind of depends on the year. Sometimes
Yeah.
you'll get a lot more Mexican food than you will get American quote unquote food. Other days we'll get, or other years we'll have more American food, less Mexican food. It kind of just depends on the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds wonderful, though. That sounds really good. Our Thanksgiving was, wow. It was a beautiful ride. We didn't have to like dress really, like we had like light jackets on. In fact, we took a picture and posted it on Facebook. we actually, after that picture, we took those jackets off and put them in the bike because it was just so nice. And yeah, just light jackets. And I got to tell you, man, it was just such a beautiful, beautiful ride. The there wasn't like a tremendous amount of traffic either,
Okay,
so that made it
that's good.
nice. But it's a decent ride because it's just outside of Fountain Hills.
Okay,
Yeah, and where this reservation is, and where I it's Weekapaw. I had the A and the O reversed at the end of the last two little letters of that. Yeah, the other day. So, but yeah, this is my fourth time there,
okay,
and Dawn second, and it was just fantastic. Line was longer than it was last time we were there, and when we left, the line was long. We had a good amount of time. Probably from the time we got there, we had probably a couple hours wait before we ate, but we had to stand in line to pay first.
okay,
So we did
okay.
that, and then I gave Dawn a couple $100 to go play some slots, which she's usually does very well. And I was happy to see that there was a 3-card poker table open. My game is Baccarat, but 3-card poker is my backup now. And so I started at, you know, small bets and wasn't really getting anywhere. In fact, I started with $300 in chips, and I was probably getting close to like right around
Okay.
$100. So, went down. And then one of the guys that was at the table, there were four of us, he got up and left. And after he left, because I hadn't been getting any pairs, man, the pairs just started hitting. I didn't play the pairs, but you don't have to play the pairs like that. A lot of people do. I like to win slowly and lose slowly. That's what I like to do. But I just went on a nice little run, and what ended the run was Dawn coming up. She had actually checked with the desk. We were waiting for a text,
Hmm.
and she said they were ready for us. I looked down, and yeah, they had just sent me a text for us to go. I'm like, this is a good time to leave. I'm up, and I was up over $300. I think I won $330, and I even put it up on there too. Dawn lost 98.80. She had
That's
she
not
only
bad.
spent 100,
That's not bad.
and she had a little ticket for $1.20 back. And so then the dinner was like, I don't know, 107 or something. And then I tipped $30, so 137. All said and
All right.
done, after the food, after the tips, um, after Dawn losing money, I was still up just shy of $100. And if that's not a win, I don't know what a win
I
is.
don't know.
That's not bad, right? For a short little time.
Yeah.
And then honestly, the ride home was even better than the ride there.
Really?
It was, I don't know if you saw it last night, but last night's sunset was pastel, like truly pastel colors. The lightness of the reds, the blues, the purples, it was super light, just uh, like a watercolor painting
Yep.
almost. It was just gorgeous above the mountains. And it just made me feel, as I expressed on Wednesday, just so grateful to be here and to live here. It's one of the best moves of my entire life because I've never felt more at home than I do here in Arizona. And then getting to see that back home, back in Ohio and the surrounding uh, upper Midwest area, Michigan, Pennsylvania, little part of New York, and them, that they were getting hit with snow. It was not pretty there. And I think there is a big like cold front across much of the country, which is why we are all in Arizona wearing, sweatshirts and stuff right now. But it is our traditional sweatshirt weather
Season.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it just absolutely was so fucking gorgeous on the ride home, and just the whole day, and the football obviously included. Very surprised about the Detroit Lions losing that game. The Detroit Lions, I still think they're a very good team, but man, it's just I think they've lost to Green Bay twice now. It's going to be very hard for them to even make the playoffs now. They're on the bubble for sure. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers got a little bit of help from the Bengals, who it's not likely that they're going to make the playoffs or have a dramatic coming. That's something I wanted to mention and talk about, because what if Shedeur Sanders had the same type of game that Lamar Jackson just had yesterday? They would call him trash, dude. They'd call him trash because he's a rookie, and there are people that just hate on him. And Lamar Jackson has been in the MVP race for the last 4 years in a row. He's been one of the top 5 guys in the MVP race.
He's always in the conversation for
sure. Always. And he's still a great quarterback. But great quarterbacks have bad days. It just happens. But it's just people's perception. And about the time, like the amount of pressure that Shedeur Sanders has right now is off the charts. And he met that initial pressure.
He's handling the pressure pretty well too, because I know I saw like a clip or two of him like being interviewed about like one of the losses or whatever, and he took it very well. Like he took it on the chin. He was like, "You need to like work." Obviously, like we did what best we could. We like work on some stuff, whatever. He seems to be handling it pretty well, like, at least a media end and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, his first game that he came in the second half. And they gave up a lead, but he didn't, watching that whole second half like I did when we got home from the Cardinals game that day, he didn't play poorly at all. And even though he had 1 interception last week, he still played good overall. He had some really good throws, ropes on a dime. I mean, I was very, very impressed overall with what he was able to do. And the other weapons on the team stepped up as well. You know, he didn't have to carry the whole load, but he did carry his part of the load very, very well. But we'll continue to follow that. Me, as a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, when the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Browns are a true rivalry, I think the NFL's just better. I think that's just a thing with me. And people in my area where we grew up, because of such a tremendous rivalry, and every year, and a lot of split seasons because you played each other twice every year. So there were a lot of splits. If you were able to sweep the other team, that was always fantastic. Pittsburgh did go on a long run against the Cleveland Browns during the Ben Roethlisberger era. And, you know, it's even kind of continued. But, you know, as much as I dislike the Browns fans, I want to see them have a chance and an opportunity, because, man, that's just got to suck being going through that with your team for that long. I don't know what that's like, but I might be finding out with our side team, with the Cardinals, because that's absolutely what's going on with the Cardinals. It's just been ugly. But, yeah, I wanted to bring that up about Jackson and Sanders in that comparison there. And I was saying it even to Dawn as we were watching the game. Yeah, what would they be saying if it was Sanders doing that? It would be a totally different conversation, totally different what opinions they would be given under the exact same circumstances. The Cowboys look good. The Cowboys are quietly making a little bit of a noise in the NFC. Dak Prescott's having one of his better years. Even though they started out slowly on defense at the beginning of the year with the loss of Micah Parsons, they are looking very, very solid now. And Kansas City on the bubble. Kansas City's going to find it very, very hard. And I believe it was last year when, you know, they didn't look as good as they have looked in the past, but they still had a decent record. And any game that was really close, like within one score, 7 points or less, they were winning those games. And this year it's just the opposite. Those games, they're losing more of those, one score games. They're losing those close games like that this year. And maybe that era is going to take a little bit of a break. I think they'll make changes. Obviously Mahomes still has the whole second half of his career left. He might be at the midway point now, but I doubt that young man is done. And I wouldn't bet against him for sure. Wouldn't bet against him. I talked about the Lions, the Green Bay Cowboys. The Bengals. Yeah, we talked about the Bengals too. That helped out my Steelers. So Joe Burrow looked really good. The team was really funny after the game with the whole turkey thing, and it was really funny. They demolished the whole team celebrating. They kind of made it fun after the game. So a lot of times we don't tend to watch that, but it was definitely worth that last night and seeing that. So more games to come, including today. Dawn and I are going to be heading to Arizona State. I don't know why I thought the game was in Tucson, but we do have tickets. We are going to be going to Tempe, and Arizona comes to town to take on the Sun Devils. So it's a big game for here. It's not the Ohio State Michigan game by any means, but it definitely is a good rivalry game. And maybe you could drop in the comments, who's your favorite college rivalry game? Because, growing up in Ohio and, rooting for the Buckeyes for the first, 20 years of my life, it was huge. There was no game bigger. No Iron Bowl or whatever they have in the SEC. The SEC, the best conference, and I'll still say that now and today. But the best rivalry, I think, has always been Ohio State, Michigan. You had, when I was growing up, you'd have USC and UCLA. They used to be pretty solid every year, so they were always in the hunt. And they've kind of went through a little bit of a downturn. Maybe USC is making a little bit of a comeback and improving things there. But Army, Navy, just because of the tradition, And I think that's, it's not this weekend. It might be next weekend, but I know it's not this weekend. So, what do people think about that? What do you think? Drop it in the comments. Who is what's the biggest rivalry in college football? I'm still going with Ohio State, Michigan. And let us know your thoughts as well. Also, you can follow me on TikTok, on X, Substack now. You can follow me on Substack.
I did look into that. It looks like a pretty interesting platform. I do like it.
I think what Substack is supposed to be more in-depth. It's not, you get some sniping back and forth of people being idiots like they are on X, but you get a little less of it. And it's more supposed to be about real arguments and real, challenging each other's viewpoints and sharing information. But like I said, you still get a little of the X overflow from that. Yeah. But I haven't posted videos yet, but you can, and I'm sure I will. I got another little piece I'm working on that I'll get posted on there today, which I'm actually going to talk about the story of what I'm going to post on Substack. I can share it with you here on the show today. But yeah, you can follow me there. Would appreciate it. Facebook, Instagram, all the different places. Yeah, there you go. That's my Substack. Appreciate y'all. And hit the subscribe button here. Share clips. We got a bunch of stuff that we've been putting out. One of the best videos recently was with my girlfriend, Dawn, that interview. So you can check that out on YouTube.
Almost have 500 views, by the way.
Really?
Almost at 5. I think we're at 470 something last time I checked. It's still been climbing. So that's good. Still performing well. That football game, though, Army versus Navy, will be on December 13th.
So 2 weeks. So 2 weeks. So, yeah. Um, that's the only one I can think of. The difference between that's a big tradition, but as far as a meaningful game,
Hmm.
because the Ohio State Michigan game is going to mean something Saturday. For Ohio State, they've had lost to Michigan 4 times in a row, and most of the fans, not all, but most of the fans would rather win a national championship than beat Michigan. But it's up there. It's like a national championship for these teams when they play.
Coming from Arizona, I think the only like rivalry that I would have to say is ASU and U of A. I'm not sure how big it is in the actual football world, but that's
Yeah, it's a good rivalry.
in
It's
Arizona
good,
here.
and
At
that's
least
why
it's
we're going to
been
go
like
see it today.
it's
So-
today. Okay,
Yeah, it's
I
today.
do remember it being pretty.
Yeah, 7 o'clock. So
Hell
we're
yeah.
going to be heading out there.
Hell
It's
yeah.
in Tempe.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do that. We don't have a Cardinals home game this weekend, so
Who do you have? Arizona State or U of A?
I think Levitt is still out. So I'm not convinced with this other quarterback. If Levitt was playing, I'd go ASU, but I think there's a good chance that because they're very close in record.
They're
The-
tied
but-
8-3, both of them.
Yeah, but the difference is their record in the league.
Gotcha.
I think Arizona State has them by a little bit, and Arizona State is ranked ahead of.
Correct. 20 Arizona State and then 25 Arizona Wildcats.
Yeah. So this is one of the more meaningful for them too.
Mhm.
That they've had. So in Arizona State being able to make the playoff last year, that was a big deal. So they haven't always been schools that have been in contention, but the programs are doing very well, and everybody seems to like the Arizona State. I thought the game was in Tucson, so I was going to wear my Arizona stuff there, and Dawn doesn't have Arizona stuff. So, and we like to go as opposites.
Mhm.
When I took her to the Purdue game against Notre Dame last year,
Okay.
she wore Purdue stuff because she graduated from there, and I had my Notre Dame stuff on, and people like that. They comment, "Oh, split household and stuff like that." And that happens with the Ohio State, Michigan in back in Toledo. You find a lot of split households like that. So it's kind of fun doing that. But I think we'll both be in our Arizona State attire, is what we're going to do for this game. Honestly, do I really care?
Probably not.
No, not in that same way as
Like if your team was playing. No, I get
Yeah.
that. I get that.
or I don't care in the same way that I really cared last year because I really became of Cam Skatibo. I really, really liked him, and I wanted to see them go as far as they could, and I thought they got robbed against Texas. So, yeah, but it's not that same kind of feeling, but I want them both to do well, and they're both going to get, even though they're not going to make the playoff, they're still going to, get a halfway decent bowl game. So we'll see how that works out, but yeah. All right. Let me do this. Let me pull this up for you. I wanted to talk about this because it's kind of in my wheelhouse when we talk about money and finances. And so this is what I was thinking. The question I had that I wanted to answer for myself because I saw this in a couple of news stories that it's expected record spending for this Christmas. Record spending. Highest ever this Christmas. And all I've heard about over the last couple of months is how bad the economy is, how people can't afford shit. I've seen recently that, the amount of debt Americans have is at highs, that we saw that the average cost of your average automobile is now $50,000. So, like all of these rent, buying a house, the interest rate is high. It's actually not.
It's
but
pretty good for interest, for house interest at least.
yeah, but people just come from a different perspective. I came from an era where my parents had 14 and 16% interest. And when I built a house, we were in the sevens. And then when it converted from a construction loan to a traditional mortgage, it was like 6.9. And we thought that was the greatest shit ever. But it took a good 25 years to get from those double digits down to 6.9. And then after that, that was like 2002. And then after that, we saw it get as low as 2.5%, 3% even, just like ground bottom. And that total time, that was another 15 years. That was, a total of 40 years that decline happened. So when you're not that old and you grew up and when interest rates, if you're born in 2000 or late 90s, and when interest rates were lower and then continued to get even lower after that, well, now this seems high to those people because they're only looking at their own life experience and not the bigger picture. What's the history of this? And I think we can, it's understandable that people can get caught up in that, but you should be smart enough to dig a little deeper than your own personal history. So yeah, what's going on with record spending? Well, everyone says they're broke. And so what I'm going to be posting on Substack is, here's the real story. Every headline right now screams the same thing. Americans set to break records on Christmas shopping. At the exact same time, you've got millions of people saying they can't afford groceries, rent, or a tank of gas. So what's the truth? Both. And that's the problem. Inflation is way down. Don't let anybody tell you any different. It's easy to verify. But what's not down is prices. Yes, the rate of inflation is far lower than the Biden era spike from 21 and 22. We're sitting around 3% now instead of 9% that we were at the peak. But here's the part the political spin artists always ignore. Inflation going down doesn't mean prices go down. It just means they're rising slower. Since 2020, prices have jumped 20% overall. That's groceries, rent, cars, flights, Christmas gifts, everything. People are not imagining it. Life really is 20% more expensive than it used to be just a few years ago. And wages have not gone up 20%. The record spending headlines hide who's actually spending. When the media says Americans, they really mean people with higher incomes, people with savings, investments, assets, people who use credit cards like candy, and a small group fueling the entire spending curve. Little deviation from that. It's also, we talk about the market doing so well. The market is doing well because of 7 stocks. When you take those 7 stocks out of the S&P 500, it's not doing great broadly. So you got to keep that in mind. 2 things can be true at the same time. That top slice of the population can absorb the higher cost. Everyone else is bargain hunting, cutting back, sinking deeper into debt. But when rich households spend big in an economy where everything costs more, it makes the totals look like, wow, record holiday shopping. The economy is booming. No, it just means the price level is higher, and the people who can still afford it are making up for the ones who can't. Why are people pissed? And right to be pissed. Imagine your rent, groceries, gas, insurance, and utilities all jump 20% in 4 years, but your paycheck doesn't. Even if inflation cools off, now you're still living in that new higher cost reality. That's why people feel broke. That's why families say Christmas feels tighter. And that's why record holiday spending feels like a joke to anyone outside the top 20%. I made that observation while Dawn and I were this past Sunday at the Cardinals game. I was in line behind a guy who was getting 12 ice cream cones. 12.
Damn.
They had brought 12 kids to their first NFL game. Can you imagine what that cost? And he was on the level that I was on. You know, he was on the club level. He wasn't in the 300 seats at the top. The club level costs more for a reason. And that's why this question came up in my mind. How is, what's going on with, and so I dug deeper into the numbers, and I think I'm giving you a fair perspective that you're not getting elsewhere. You're either hearing from one side saying everything's bad, and you're having another side that's just saying that, oh, things are fine. They're great. When it's not true. A little bit of each is true. So here's the bottom line. Inflation cooling doesn't erase the damage. Prices have stayed high. Wages didn't catch up. A small group of higher income households is floating the national spending numbers while everyone else is drowning. So, again, the bottom line. Yes, inflation is down compared to Biden's peak. People absolutely are struggling, and holiday spending can still hit a record even in a hurting economy and a hurting country. That's the reality behind the headlines. And that's the kind of stuff and the kind of content I'm going to be putting on Substack. So if you have an interest in that kind of content, please follow me on Substack, and it would be greatly appreciated. And I'm going to talk about those things here on the show because so many people, I hear that about debt. Man, don't go into debt over Christmas. I remember doing that when I was like 21 and I had a really, really good job. And I remember spending a shit ton at Sears. That for a time, they used to have portable TVs were the thing. This is like 87, 88. And they were black and white, these little portable. There's a handheld one and a bigger one, and I just bought them all. And you can still only get a handful of channels because you're not hooking those things up to cable, you know what I mean? So, but I don't know. I did that, and it hurt me for a minute as a young person. It did. I eventually got the debt all paid down, but I learned a lesson, definitely learned a lesson that a few years later, what I started to do is, and for a long time, I didn't use a credit card at all. I only paid cash. So if I didn't have the cash, I didn't get it. Real simple. You either have the money or you don't. And it made all the difference. And I would walk around, with a couple $1,000s in my pocket pretty regularly. And I would always joke it was bail money, but that's because I paid cash for everything. That's why I did that. And it's a lot harder. And I liked bigger bills because there's something about handing someone a $100 bill that you're like, do I really need that? Do I really want to break this? Do I really want to spend it? It's different than writing a check. It's different than a card. Now I put everything I can on a card, and I'm constantly paying it off. At least once a week, sometimes twice a week, depending. But I want the points. But I'm 57. I'm more responsible now than I was then, and a lot smarter about that kind of stuff. And it's not something kids are taught. And, so it has to be taught by parents And let's be honest, a lot of our parents, they may be good people. That's not their wheelhouse either. They're not experts in financial management. And if you have a parent that is and is really good at that, great. That is awesome for you. But it is something we should get better. I've been complaining for years now because I was a financial advisor for 24 years, and I complained all the time about it back then that we didn't do enough, even close to it, of getting kids prepared for life. And what is that college loan really going to cost you? What is that mortgage really going to cost you? You're looking at, I even heard, two young people talking about housing, and I was just eavesdropping a little bit in the locker room the other day, wanting to get a house like Leo has done. And a starter home now is, at least in this area, is $400,000 to $500,000. That's where it's at.
And the prices are only going up too.
Yeah,
because they're only building more and more like stores and all that around here.
yeah, and I don't know, like in Ohio, it's not quite like that. You can still find things for $200,000 to $300,000 in that area. And if you're getting below that, you're probably not in all that great of area too. That can happen too. So it depends on where you're at. But yes, it is real. And kids are really saying this stuff. It's not just on the news or you think maybe, is it really true? I overheard it for real and was actually surprised by it. It just made it sink in a little bit more. But the biggest thing, don't put yourself in debt with something that you can't afford. I didn't have 100 pairs of shoes when I lost everything and was working my way back. I bought Champion. I bought Champion shoes. Champion, it became a thing again amongst the youth, and like they thought it was some new kind of thing. And I'm like, no. Champion has been around forever. They used to make the best college sweatshirts and hoodies ever.
They used to be cheap too.
Yeah, reasonable, cheap, thick, would last for 20 years, man, for a long time. And so that's just the way it was. Just the way it was. And I wanted different colors. So, and I wanted to match my outfits and stuff. So, these shoes were typically in the $30 to $40 range when I'd get them on sale. But they still look good. And my shorts, I used to buy the And One shorts when shorts were longer. The And One shorts, even when I made more money, I still liked those damn shorts. And I used to buy every single one when they would come out because they would be in the price range of either $10 or $12 at Walmart. And I'd buy 5, 6 pair versus, I'm wearing Lululemon shorts today. These fucking thing, one pair. They're light, they're $70, $68 to be exact, is what they are. I used to get 6 pairs for $68. All right. But, I bought what I could afford. And you could still look good. You don't have to have the label, although I'm not opposed to labels. I'm just saying, you just gotta do the smart thing, the right thing, and be smarter with your money, especially when it comes to credit cards. And I never carry a balance. This is something I will never do again. I'll never carry a balance. But to get to that point, to become that disciplined, what I had to first do is not use a credit card at all. It was just simply to just pay cash. The only time I used a credit card was if I had to for like a hotel reservation or a flight or something like that. And I wasn't flying first class then either when I was doing that. I flew cattle, and I would search for an hour and a half to find the cheapest flight I could. I don't do that anymore. I spend 5 minutes and I book a flight. But it just doesn't happen overnight. You got to work for it. You got to work to get there. So, little different take than what you've been hearing on the economy. Thought that might be of interest to people. Have you heard the Campbell's soup story? I don't know. Have you followed that at all?
No idea.
So, an executive with Campbell's Soup. Did you ever eat Campbell's Soup? Yeah. Yeah, I did too. It was a staple when I was a kid. Dump a can of Campbell's Soup in, and you'd add about, well, either half to a whole can of water, depending on, how much broth you wanted, basically. Because it was condensed and it was cheap, and I liked it. I'm going to admit, I liked it. I could still eat it today. If somebody put it in front of me, I could still eat it today. I buy a different brand now, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And Chef Boyardee. I was big on Chef Boyardee. I didn't. The other one, the Franco American, I never liked Franco American.
I don't even think I know what that is.
Yeah. Well, that's good because stuff was trash. The Chef Boyardee was the good stuff, and supposedly. But anyways, Campbell's Soup executive, not long after he got hired last year, was secretly recorded by someone, and that recording went public here in the past week. And he was trashing on the product of Campbell's Soup and was trashing on the people who bought it. Not very smart. And here you go. You got it up there. The Campbell's Company, he is now fired as of today. This just came out. But the whole story came out a few days ago. The Campbell's Company has fired an executive who was caught, not allegedly. We all heard the fucking audio, man. Allegedly. Caught on a secret recording insulting the company's products, customers, and employees, including calling its food shit for fucking poor people.
If we're gonna be realistic, yeah.
Yeah, but you can't say
you can't say it out loud, but I mean, yeah.
It's just dumb, man. Just dumb. But yeah, I guess it was. I never thought of it as food for poor people. Like I said,
it was always just like the canned food that was always like less than $1 or whatever, like a few cents or whatever it was.
And when you really think of it, though, when you start thinking about it being $1 at the store, right? And it's still right around that price, right around $1. Well, the store has to buy it at a certain price to be able to make a profit on it, right? And then the cost to make it, and you're thinking, man, what is the true cost of a can? Let's ask ChatGPT. What is the true manufacturing cost of a can of Campbell's vegetable soup? The traditional. Now, I always got the vegetable beef. I never liked it without the beef. And then I got to thinking, man, that's so low. Oh, my God. How do they even make it for that? But they do. So you get what you pay for. It can't be. How good can it be if the cost is 50 cents, 60 cents for them to make it? I don't know. But it'll be interesting here as he pulls that up. If you were one of the poor people like I was at one time, if you ate Campbell's Soup, drop it in the comments. What was your favorite? Mine, I would say the vegetable beef over the chicken noodle. That's what I would say.
So it looks like there's no public data on it.
Was it able to estimate?
But they can estimate the cost.
Yes. Okay.
So rough cost breakdown per can. So ingredients and liquids anywhere from 10 cents to 25 cents per can. The metal can lid label and the packaging materials, 5 cents to 15 cents. Production and processing, 5 cents to 15 cents. Overhead waste quality control, distribution, 3 cents to 10 cents. So an estimate total of 23 cents to 65 cents per can.
Yeah, we can even go with the 65.
That's actually a lot higher than I expected, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah. I was
I
I, I
still
was
think
I was
that's
expecting around like the 40
Well,
cent
once you
area.
start thinking about that it's sold for $1,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. But like, what do you expect for 65? It's a meal. It was a meal. You know, that and a pack of crackers. that was a meal. Still can be today for some people, but just not like how dumb do you have to be to trash on your own company that way? I guess. Well, you know, he was secretly recorded. He wasn't expecting to be recorded. I'd love to know what the person's motive was that recorded him.
You just probably didn't like him in some way, shape, or form. Was like, you know
Yeah,
what? You
maybe
probably
there's-
said this a few times. Let me just pull my phone out.
Yeah, he probably made similar comments prior to that. This person didn't like it and knew we'd say it again. And that guy probably felt comfortable saying it in front of him because he
Yep.
already had without any problems. That's a good take. It's a good take. Good work on that, Leo. Yeah. But not smart to talk about your customers that way. And how Campbell's Soup handles this on out will be interesting to see. You know, the firing I thought was going to be, you know, pretty much a done deal, and it was. So, what are they going to say about their product? Are they going to talk about improving the product or anything like that?
I doubt it. I think they've done a really good job of staying in business by just keeping things as it is. Like move with inflation as little as possible and just keep it at a lower price because they already have like the staple like canned food, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, there's no reason. I don't think Campbell would be something that like what would they change? What could they possibly change?
And that's the thing. What could they change? And in some ways, they've already done that. Like one of the biggest knocks against those types of products has been the high sodium content.
Yeah.
And you can get it with low sodium. They make cans of the soups with low sodium to help those, especially it's usually older people that, you know, their doctor tells them to watch their sodium and things like that. And, you know, when you're eating highly processed foods, the sodium can be an issue. Now, when you're eating almost all, as you should be, whole foods, then the problem is you might not be getting enough salt. So it just depends on where you're at on the spectrum for that. But they've already done some things like that. And but just if they just defend it and say, you know, this is a value product, and you know we provide this value for it, and we stand by that, and we're grateful for our customers. They can't just ignore it. The PR, they got to do something.
I feel
And
like
I'm just
Campbell's
interested.
soup is like a staple enough to not do anything about it and still just move on.
Well, I think they
I
will,
I
but
really truly believe that
Yeah.
Campbell's soup just has too much clout basically for something like this to affect them. I don't think it will.
yeah, I don't think it's going to affect them like bottom line type of thing. But I do think they do need to make some type of little PR move to bridge to, you know, just moving forward.
I get you.
Yeah. All right. So now for the big story of today. And I've been thinking for this for a couple days now, obviously, as many of you might have as well. We've had two of our National Guardsmen who were deployed in Washington, D.C. They were Virginia National Guardsmen. I believe they had just been recently, within days, sworn in. So they're new. And one was a female Do we have her name? Because I didn't write it down.
Shooting Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, 24. Okay, so Specialist Sarah Beckstorm, 20 years old.
Sarah, both of them were in critical condition, and Sarah has passed. She was killed. She was murdered. Attacked by an Afghan national. That can't be glossed over. And immediately the left goes crazy and starts accusing President Trump and blaming Trump because they're there. If Washington, D.C. is so safe and they didn't need these National Guardsmen there, if it was so safe, then why would the lives of these troops be in danger? They didn't invite this. And it just says something about us as a country that people just think it's okay to take shots at these people, that it's okay now to take shots at the Gestapo, ICE, Border Patrol, and now the National Guard. And when the National Guard has gone into other cities, not Washington, D.C., but other cities, they weren't patrolling neighborhoods and arresting people. They were simply protecting federal facilities, because what had been happening is ICE, Border Patrol, that used these facilities would get their vehicles surrounded when they tried to enter or leave these facilities. And so the National Guard protected them in that case, because people were hanging on, climbing in front of the vehicles, sometimes even getting run over, which, you know, if you're that fucking stupid, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, right? We have every right for our National Guard to be able to protect federal facilities. And I think the government actually has been too tolerant of this bullshit. And to make matters worse is, even when these people are arrested, and not enough of them are, they get released. You have these liberal judges that are just letting them go, when they're actually assaulting people, when they're actually interfering in law enforcement, doing what their job is. At some point, I knew something bad was going to happen. I didn't know if it was going to be a law enforcement individual that lost their life first, or if it was going to be a peaceful protester. We don't know about this guy's motives as of yet. They do know and have reported that he helped during the Afghan war. He helped our troops, worked even with the CIA, providing information. And I got to tell you, I thought we were fucking those people over. We made a promise to those people that if they helped us, they would be able to come to our country. They would be able to immigrate here legally and try to become American citizens. And I was all for that. I supported it. But apparently how that was implemented, somebody's missing something. If it just happened at the end when we pulled out so terribly, did such a terrible job with that withdrawal, if that had something to do with it. But it was my understanding we were leaving quite a few people behind that we had made promises to. And so if you promise people something like this and you don't deliver, in the future when you need help, how are you going to get help? Why would anybody help you? because they're going to say, well, you don't keep your promises. How do I know if I help you, I'm really going to be able to come to the country? So I supported it, but something went wrong, terribly wrong. And I'm over all of it. Just period. I'm over all of it. I am for America first, and that is the lens that I look through. Period. That's the first lens everything goes through. Did you have something?
No, I was just reading as to why because Trump called the National Guard into Washington to quote unquote help with public safety and out of control crimes. Although data showing the decrease in crime at the time, Guard members were active to provide visible presence to support local and federal law enforcement's efforts, patrol subway stops in tourist areas to act as a determinant to crime. It's just a lot of people are saying, like in a lot of the article comments, that the National Guard probably shouldn't even have been there, that there was no reason for it.
Yeah, but they've had such a tremendous positive influence, and that crime going down so much during this period of time. Now, what they're allowed to do in Washington, D.C. is different than they're allowed to do in every other area, because it's a different setup with Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So they can play more of a police role than they did in
because a lot of people are saying that it actually kind of invites more violence when you're.
I know that they're saying that, and I just
National Guard and stuff.
How
like
is that any different than police? If you hired more police,
because
more police are being present.
Because I feel like that's different, right? Like I feel like
really,
yeah. I feel like there's a difference between police doing their jobs and then you calling National Guard to come in. Like what kind of like image does that give for like the everyday
Have you
people?
seen how they dress now?
I have no idea. I'm just.
No, I mean just around here
in Arizona.
Uh-huh.
Like people, like day-to-day people.
No, the sheriffs, the police department. Have you seen how growing up or 25 years ago, they didn't dress like they do today, dude?
I don't know what you mean by that, to be honest with you.
Police officers today look like they're going into combat.
They always have.
No, they haven't.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% sure, dude. I'm 57 years old.
I don't know. Maybe the police that I've always been around have always had like bulletproof vests, like 3 different guns, like everything on them. I don't know. Maybe it's just the area I grew up in, but that's what they've always looked like to me. At least.
That's more of a recent thing.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% sure, my friend.
Because even as a kid, I do remember seeing that like quite a bit.
And if they did it then, they didn't do it on a daily basis, and their body armor would have been under their shirt. But most of the time, if you got pulled over by a cop, he was not wearing body armor at all.
I don't know about that. I'm gonna disagree with it because I've been.
You can't disagree with me.
I'm going to, but
because
I've seen it in person.
Okay, but I've seen it in person, and you're younger than me.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you're wrong about now. I'm saying yes,
that was
they
like
do
10, 15 years ago.
Okay, but I'm telling you, it hasn't always been a thing. It's been more recent that we've had this trend this way, and even people have talked about it. In the you have police departments driving around in vehicles now that are like military type vehicles, like armored military type vehicles. They didn't do that, 20, 25 years ago. They just didn't. But they do that now, and they look like, and it's not just, any movie, pick a movie. That's how cops looked. They're wearing the uniform, whatever kind of hat that they would have, and they'd have their sidearm. They might have a couple other things around their belt. But now they're strapped, and they have a black version of what would be more of a military type dress.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe again, so like for
Mhm.
instance, armored vehicles for police have been used dating back all the way to 1960.
Your average police department did not have them, though. That wasn't a thing. You just if you look at it at the people that hate the police and you look at their information, you'll see because they complain about those kinds of things. But I'm just saying, like, so what? We should have less police presence because if we have too much of a police presence, then they're going to be targets. You don't get to target the military because you don't like that they're there. You don't get to do that. And to blame the victim, that's like what you had just said. That's like saying, well, she was dressed like a slut, so it was okay to rape her.
No, no, no. All I'm saying is when you're
No, but
deploying
you're
a,
you're blaming the victim though.
I'm not blaming anyone.
No, but they're the police officer, the victim, and they shouldn't have been there. That's what they're saying. Oh, they're inviting it. I thought that was the word that was used, right?
Like
Inviting.
I might have used the word invited, yeah, but I think it's more of like the concept, right? Like if let's say like you're whatever city, state, whatever, blah 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 blah, wherever you're at, if you have a situation going on, and instead of getting the regular police, you get the National Guard, that gives a different perspective to an everyday person. Like I understand it, like
You
big
get
picture, whatever,
both.
but
There now, and it was also shown that they were lying about the numbers. That came from inside. That came from the police union in Washington D.C. The police union telling us that they were not categorizing different crimes the way they would to make it look like it was not as bad as it really was. Now, do I have firsthand? I haven't been to Washington, D.C. myself in a while, but people who have been there said that there was a difference and they felt safer. And even the mayor, who wasn't a big fan, was coordinated. And not just there, look at, what these people have done in Dallas. We went over a bunch of the stories in Dallas, and you're not hearing every story. Every story is not getting, or every incident is not being reported in the news about when ICE or the Border Patrol have been targets of these crazed lunatics, and they're showing up at their facilities. These aren't those people, and or they're out executing warrants. They're not picking up people randomly for no reason and just shipping them off to another country without going through any process. That's not a thing. It's not what they're doing. Now, is there a risk that some bad guys might start dressing up like ICE? Sure, I guess there is. And they'll have to deal with that as well. But that's not, there's no kidnapping going on. I mean, the things that are being said about these guys and the targeting that's going on, and when you call them brown shirts, when you call them Nazis, when you call them the Gestapo, okay, then you're making them targets. Then you're making them targets. And if Democrats want to complain that Trump is making them a target by calling the seditious six, by calling them traitors, look what you've called him. Do two wrongs make a right? No. But this is where we're at now. And so both sides can either knock it off, or we're going to continue to have these types of incidents. And I'm going to tell you, at some point, it's not just going to be law enforcement laying there on the ground bleeding. It's going to be civilians that are going to be laying there bleeding. And I don't want that to happen to either. I don't want law enforcement. I don't want that to happen to them. And I don't want it to happen to these other people as well. let's see, was it Wednesday? Wednesday, I believe it happened, that a group of protesters in California, I think it was at LAX, blocked the roads because there's this thing going on about a union fight that these employees blocked it. And so a whole bunch of people missed their flights. People were abandoning their cars and walking to get to the fucking airport. It's insane, man. I'm sorry. Your right to protest, you have a right to protest. You don't have a right to impede my rights. And one of my rights is the ability to travel freely in this country from point A to any point B I choose. I have a right to do that. You should be protesting in an area, okay, that you can be heard. You'll get on TV. Somebody will show up with a fucking microphone. Fine. Do your thing. But I'm over this blocking the roads and highways and nothing happening to these people. That it's okay, because of their rights, it's okay for them to trample on ours. And that's exactly what's happening. They're trampling on our rights. And you don't have a right to do that, motherfucker. You don't. And enough of us have just had it with this shit that where this stuff goes from here, it's at such a high level now. And now it's resulting in the deaths of these law enforcement officers. Man, that pendulum is going to swing back at you, motherfucker. It will swing back at you. Just not a good thing to be doing. And this is one of the times, you know what I haven't seen them do yet? I haven't seen them blame the gun. Haven't seen them blame the gun because right now they would rather blame Trump. If it wasn't Trump, well, then they would go back to blaming the gun. There would be, we need to do something. I don't know what the person used. I didn't even see it in an article. Did you see anything where it said what type of gun the shooter used?
It was a 357, the revolver.
Yeah, okay.
What was it? I was reading it. The 357 snub nose revolver.
Yeah. All right. That's not one of the typical guns that people talk about banning. It's not. So I guess they don't want to blame the gun because it's not an AR-15. Is that the thing?
I would assume so.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous, man. It's just ridiculous. This can't be a thing. And America needs to check itself hard right now. Hard. About where we're at and where the level of the rhetoric is. And it's high. And I'm right there. I'm right there in the middle of it. So I feel it. I see it. And I totally get it. And at the same time, both sides, there needs to be a temporary truce. And it's going to take leadership from both sides. And they need to not worry about who's saying what first. Both sides need to get to the microphone and say this needs to be done. It's just empty words from Obama or empty words from someone on the right. It's just empty words right now. We've heard it before. And where we're at right now is not a good place. It's not. We are better than that as a country, or we should be better than that as a country. I'm not going to repeat what other people say. This isn't who we are. Yes, it actually is who the fuck we are right now. If it wasn't who we are right now, it wouldn't be happening. So it's obviously who we are. I'm telling you, but we're supposed to be better than this. We can be better than this. This gets back to something Greg Gutfeld said, and that I've also said and communicated. We need to go back to criticizing people by calling them other names. Call them ugly, call them fat, say they don't work out their legs, just something else. anything else.
Yeah, those insults don't work no more, though.
Well, how are they supposed to work?
What do you mean?
Well, how is the insult supposed to work? I mean, Hitler isn't working, but it's a totally different level when you start using Hitler and traitor. It's a whole nother level. We need to go back to the traditional insults. I mean,
A little boring, for in my opinion. Be honest with you.
It may be.
I need a little extra flavor, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, the extra flavor is now resulting in people being killed.
Yeah, people have always been being killed, though.
Not for this. Not like
similar
this.
things for sure.
Ah.
Maybe not the one for
Yeah,
one, but
yeah, we're not going to agree on that. That's not going to be. No. We need to go back to traditional insults like we used to do for a long time. Be boring, okay? Nobody needs to be talking a way that is creating a violent environment and seeing people hurt because it's going to happen on both sides. It's not just going to be the law enforcement. There will be others. And I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that happen at all. So that's what I had. And that's what I had for today. Enjoy your holiday weekend. If you're Black Friday shopping, just so you know, there might be a few deals. They used to start those deals at 6 a.m. some places, I guess. But for the most part, you know, Black Friday is kind of, well, it's not real anymore. It's not just that's your biggest day. There's not going to be other sales. There's going to be more sales and more price cuts all the way up to Christmas and then after Christmas as well. So you know, do it when it works best for you. Don't have to do today. And I've done Black Friday shopping before, but things have definitely changed, especially with the way we do things online. And Black Friday is online, but those deals are going to be there from now until the middle of January, unless they run out of whatever it is. So keep that in mind. Be safe out there. Enjoy the weekend, right? And we'll be back at it on Monday. It's Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Give or take around 9, maybe a little bit after, we go live right here on the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy.
Whoa. Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces.